Hello, and welcome to Morning Call for Wednesday, the 15th of May, 2019. I'm Fab from Hamburg. How are you this morning? Hope you're doing better than me. I had a very long day yesterday, a lot of work, and then I podcasted till 1 o'clock or so at night. And I can tell you, that bottle was a lot fuller last night before we started. Anyway, you're here for the tech news. Mike's awake. Mike, how are you? I do not envy you guys who were part of the show last night and actually had to go to proper work this morning. Not like me. Anyway, I have coffee. It's better now. Good morning, everybody. Thanks to Dat Da 7A, I guess that's your name. Thanks for the sub. Much appreciated. What do you mean I've been up since 6:30 a.m.? Oh God, Mike, I think since the Sabaton open air trip, we both know that you're much harder hitting man than I am. Oh God, I can't deal with this shit. Anyway, what do we got? First story of the day is Zombie Load. Get a load of this. The guys that found Meltdown and Spectre have unveiled another research paper and another vulnerability in processors. This time it's only Intel processors. So this is some researchers, among them Daniel Gruß, Moritz Lipp, and Michael Schwarz, who also discovered Meltdown and Spectre. And this is basically a vulnerability where you can it takes advantage of speculative execution as well. And basically what you're doing is if you got some malware on a system, doesn't need to be admin, you don't need to have admin rights. You can basically sit there and listen to the stuff other processes while they're being executed by the CPU. If you're on this, so basically for most of these, you have to be on the same CPU core, and hyperthreading has to be enabled. So you're in another hyperthread on another virtual core, but on the same physical core. And what you're basically doing is you're listening to the data that gets like copied into memory buffers on the chip. And you can basically read that out. It's pretty slow. It's like byte-wise or kilobytes a second. But the bad thing is you can basically read everything. It doesn't matter what process the data is coming from, because basically the microarchitecture underneath, it turns out, doesn't care about user privileges and operating system privileges. So you can just have an unprivileged process that can read everything. It can read stuff from the SGX enclaves, which are like Intel's hyper secure thing and processes that is used. It's basically like a black box for software. Like you can write software into that, and then even the operating system can't manipulate it anymore. So they use that for crypto operations on cloud servers, but also for DRM, encoding on desktop, like video encoding. Because basically you can't get at the keys, because once they're in there, you can't access it unless you have something like Zombie Load, where it turns out you actually can. You can listen to pretty much anything that's happening. Intel is saying they knew about these things before the researchers had discovered them, and they have fixed them in their newest line of processors. So that is what Coffee Lake and I think Whiskey and Coffee Lake. Great names, by the way, Intel. Great names. Right down my alley. Let's have a lake of whiskey and then a lake of coffee afterwards the next morning. Good stuff there, Intel. Yeah, so they have fixed them on those. I'm guessing via microcode. Like a lot of this stuff is microcode updates. You can get microcode updates for the newer processors. Apparently, you have to completely avoid this. You have to have the microcode updates enabled and disable hyperthreading, which is a bit of a curveball. The register saying "rip hyperthreading?" So Chrome OS apparently has disabled hyperthreading because of this. And meanwhile, Apple, Microsoft, IBM's Red Hat, IBM's Red Hat, they're just driving that home now. Qubes OS and Zen advised customers that they may wish to take similar steps, which is interesting. So this vulnerability is not something that I think a lot of the desktop users have to worry about. It's very slow. It's actually not as hard to pull off if you read the paper, apparently, but it's a very complicated attack. I know it's not as hard to pull off as something like Spectre, I guess. But it is a pretty complicated attack. It will only be used to, attack specific targeted systems. If you want a mass attack or just attack some Windows users, there are easier to exploit vulnerabilities. But if it's a high value target, if you want some crypto keys, some passwords, and there's no other way to get to them, this is probably a way to do that. Oh, the one thing I didn't mention, this also of course affects cloud service, and you can with this must be the Irish influence, says Harry Vitana. Well, yeah, this is in the moment. This is actually this is bourbon, but yeah, I got some Irish whiskey over there as well. Can never have too much Irish influences, right? Yeah, so in the cloud, basically, you can with this get data from other VMs or even from the hypervisor. So it would be possible to, for example, run this attack in a cloud server and attack crypto keys used on the hypervisor, and maybe even credentials, and then hack your way in another way. This is more like a spying exploit, but I mean that can be used to just exfiltrate credentials and then do that. So some heavy stuff there. Apparently only Intel affected. The researchers are saying AMD and ARM, they couldn't get it to work. They're saying it's more like Meltdown, where it's like a problem of the implementation of Intel, not the design of processors in itself, which Spectre is. So some hardcore stuff here in the morning. Mike agrees with me on the Irish influences. That is understandable. Also, Patch Tuesday. I guess this was why this was released on Tuesday. I don't know. Possibly also because they did a report on this at a security conference in London last night. But also security patches from Microsoft, of course, because of Patch Tuesday. One thing that stands out is they did patch Windows XP and Server 2003, so Microsoft products that are long out of support that they usually don't patch, at least not for free. I'm doing this because there is CVE 2019-07-08, which is a critical flaw, Microsoft says, in the remote desktop services or terminal services back in the day, which looks bad. The register here calling it possible, like Microsoft doing this to avoid another WannaCry, where obviously there was a flaw in, I think, lots of XP systems and stuff as well. I mean, the flaw was fixed in newer operating systems, but Microsoft just didn't push the patches to older versions until it was way too late. So old systems that are still out there got massively infected. And I'm guessing here that Microsoft wants to avoid that. So yeah, if you're still running some XP systems or Windows Server 2003, install those patches. But really, get rid of those fucking systems. What are you doing? Why are you watching this show? Go run, fix your servers. To be honest, Bitcoin looks like it's on the bounce. I reported $6,000 the other day. Now we're at 8. We're at 8, and it looks like the hype is back, question mark. I don't know. It looks like if you look at the current, so that is the Bitcoin DE chart for the month. So this is in euros. So you can see we're now at 2,183 euros and 90 cents. And it's been pretty much rising steadily and advancing through the month and rising pretty quickly from about this is not the calendar month. This is the last 30 days. So the rise really started around 4th of May, 6th, 7th of May. This is going up now. So I don't know if you got some Bitcoins still worth to keep an eye on. The Verge reporting that with Trump's trade war against China, it turns out if you look at the plans the administration is pushing there, looks like phones, laptops, tablets affected next, could be hit with import taxes, tariffs up to as much as 25%. Of course, they're saying Apple affected here. The Verge saying, quote, although the US president has argued that his tariffs would be paid for by China, believe me, these tariffs, China will pay, like Mexico paid for the war. Although that the US president has argued that his tariffs would be paid for by China, analysis of the 2018 round of tariff increases for his administration has shown that the burden has mostly fallen on Americans. The broad consensus among economists, as articulated by Goldman Sachs, is that, quote, the cost of US tariffs have fallen entirely on US businesses and households. So that looks bad. As long as it doesn't affect Europe, do whatever you like, mate. Yeah, but that isn't looking good for Tim Apple. Poor Tim Apple. As if Apple needed like the crush, right? They're under pressure right now anyway because iPhones aren't selling as well as they were, and I don't think this is gonna make it better, at least at home. Lenovo, well known for producing the ThinkPad line of products since they bought them from IBM, my laptop brand of choice, as is for many people who use Linux. Usually known to be a bit ugly, rugged, that's why I buy them, because they don't break. I don't know. Lenovo was trying something new now. I don't think if this is a good idea, but they have now announced a foldable ThinkPad, which is basically like those phones. It's like a big screen you can fold in the middle. So you can have it open like a big tablet, and you can fold it like basically almost 90 degrees, and then the bottom part of the display turns into a keyboard, I guess. God, I should have fucking buffered this video, shouldn't I? Anyway, so you can fold it, and sorry, I thought that was an ad. That is an ad because it's a Lenovo thing, and then you can fold it over, and it becomes like a small tablet. Oh no, says Harry Vitana. There was that in. This is another service desk nightmare waiting to happen. Yeah, it is. So this is Lenovo ThinkPad X1 concept. I think this is a stupid idea. Can we stop with the foldable bollocks now, John? This is exactly what I was thinking. Did I turn the sound on? Wow, that was loud. Yes, some the splashing water there. Would have made more sense to do that on the yoga line. Hey, that's a shoyu wrapper. That's a good point. I hadn't thought of that. Yeah, and I know what you're saying. I was like, this is not ThinkPad. This is not the core value of the ThinkPad brand. You're completely right. And I'm with Jonathan, like, stop with the foldable shit now, because that is just the newest fad. Like, I don't know. That's dumb. I mean, we've seen on that bloody Samsung phone that this stuff is very prone to break. I don't think it has an actual use. Like, it's not like that would be better to type on than a normal ThinkPad. And they have the yoga thing, and the yoga thing works quite well. They have these really nice, like it folds with these special hinges, and they seem to work really, really good. Jonathan says, Elon, you're up. Foldable Tesla, foldable flamethrower, foldable space rocket. Yeah. The Register had an interesting story. I just wanted to quickly mention, basically, riffs of a tweet of Mike Milinkovic, who is the head of the Eclipse Foundation, basically reacting to the news that Microsoft is, GitHub, Microsoft is doing their own software repository, and he's saying they already have, they have Visual Studio Code, which a lot of people using now. They have GitHub, so basically they want to get the developer chain all under the Microsoft umbrella. They want to get developers use everything from Microsoft, and he's basically saying, is that what we want? Like in this tweet, he says, Milinkovic says, a monopoly on both development experience and artifact pipelines, just what I always wanted when I imagined the future. Not. And when asked by the Register, he said, the Register, with GitHub, VS Code, and now package registry, could Microsoft be too dominant? The Register asked Milinkovic to expand on his concerns. Monoculture is likely a better word, he said. GitHub plus VS Code already represents a very large concentration. Properly curated universal package manager is sorely needed, so they're definitely meeting a need. But wouldn't it be ironic if all paths used by open source developers lead to Microsoft? Which is a good point that I've seen them articulated in one way or another by several people since Microsoft bought GitHub. Interesting, something to think about. Of course, he's got a horse in this race because Eclipse is an IDE. As for a very long time, a very popular IDE. It's not very, you can say about Visual Studio what you want, but Visual Studio Code looks a lot better than Eclipse. My humble opinion. I'm not a software developer, but Eclipse is just a fucking nightmare as far as UX goes, if you ask me. But there's something to keep in mind, I think. And with that, we're coming to an end of the show as usual. And it's been going long enough. I think I've never made these 15 minutes that I originally wanted to do on this show. No, I'm aiming for 20, and I'm exceeding that every time. Anyway, we have more outrage in the gaming community because the Outer Wilds is now a Epic Store exclusive, which is pissing people off. Not because Epic Store exclusive aren't pissing off people enough anyway, but in this special case, this game was funded not on Kickstarter but on Fig, which is like a games crowdfunding site. And in summer of 2015, the community gave basically $125,000 which kicked off the development. And basically they were saying, we're going to ship it for macOS, Linux, and on Steam. And now obviously it's not going to be on Steam because it's Epic Store exclusive. It's also not going to be on Linux or macOS. Where people are saying stop because they didn't bother or because the Epic Store is not on those platforms. I don't know. People are pissed off though. which I can understand. You know, if I had crowdfunded that and Dad said we're gonna put it on Steam, I don't think that is too much to ask. I mean, we've seen lots of crowdfunding projects, games where they were like, yeah, we're gonna publish this on Linux, and then later on it turned out, okay, it's actually too hard. It's too much work. It's not worth it. So I'm kind of expecting that by now when I see that. But like when somebody says it's going to be out on Steam, you kind of expect it to be out on Steam. There's really no technical monetary reason except, hey, Epic Games gave us a lot of money for this exclusive deal. Yeah, we'll see. Oh, while we're talking about that, I mean, I've been basically a bit negative on these things as well, because I like to have like one game library where all my games are in, and that, I think Steam was my thing for a long time, but I always had this problem with the Epic Store, that one of the big problems is when you have like 4 of these systems around. Oh, there is my doorbell. Well, give me a second. I'll be back in a second. One moment. Turns out I'm getting an important package. I'll be back in a second. Let me use the correct standby. I'll be back. Hang in there, please. Right, I'm back. Sorry for that. People just don't have any any understanding of people doing live streams anymore. They, gotta come in there. I guess I have to do a live unboxing now. Anyway, why did I have to go to the door? Magic cards. Very, very important. Challenger deck, Vehicle Rush. Actually, I bought I bought one of these surprise things where you just get one of the Challenger decks. I didn't know which one I would get. So this is red, white, black. Interesting. Not bad. This is like becoming an unboxing show now. Yeah. Anyway, so oh, it's got a life counter in there. Not like I didn't have enough life content. Anyway, the thing I wanted to mention is, I want to have one place where I have all my games. And then maybe I can buy them in other shops, and it doesn't matter. So somebody on the Discord, I think it was Igwig, told me about Playnite. So Playnite is like this open source thing, which is basically like a game library, and you can tie in all the stores, and it just lists all your games. It finds all your games on a system. It does a lot of the things Steam does, like playtime, recording, and it links to all the different information sources. And you even have like a button if you want to have your Steam friends in there. So that's pretty cool. Wow. Holy crap. There are There are cards. So I can recommend Play Night. It's a good thing. There are cards from bloody Ether Revolt in here. That is interesting. This is the nice thing if you actually buy like surprise things. It's like Ether Revolt. That's pretty cool. Anyway, I'll look at that later. You're here for the tech news, not for me unboxing magic cards I get during the show. You are forgiven, says Sorry Rapper. Thank you. That is good. Just one last story before we go. And I think this one was worth the wait. Because that's just my what the fuck to leave you for the rest of the day on the register. I'm just gonna read out some of this and not editorialize on it because it's good in itself. Thomas the Wank Engine. London rail passengers played prawn grunts over PA system. Mind the Fab. Commuters on London's Wandsworth Clapham service last Friday morning had yet another reason to awkwardly avoid each other's gazes as grunts and groans from what sounded like pornographic film oozed out of the train's tannoy system. For everybody not in the UK, tannoy is like PA, the British word PA. For PA system, passenger Paul Brunton did what any self-respecting citizen would and upload the footage of his journey to Twitter as the driver could be heard applying the handbrake a little too hard. I'm not going to play this video, but it is fun. It is not safe for work, so if you want to put on headphones later and listen to that, I can recommend it. Is that coming from the driver? A fellow traveler can be heard asking. And then, this he tweeted to Transport for London, who wasn't at fault. This was the Southwestern Rail train. That's how they're investigating this. And I'm just going to leave you with the last 2 paragraphs on this register story. I'm just going to read them out. There are a work of art. Wandsworth appears in Domesday Book of 1086 as Wandesort and Wendelsort, roughly translated as the enclosure of Wendel, apparently a relative well-off Saxon. The place was valued back then at 12 cowhides, 5.5 ploughs, and 22 acres of meadow, or a whopping £9. That's less than a rosemary salted and triple-cooked potato at a nearby pub will set you back. The 3-minute journey from Wandsworth Town to Clapham Junction takes place on a stretch of rail line that was opened between 1838 and 1863. It's not known where the passenger embarked, and even less clear where the announcer or guard ultimately got off. But Shepherd's Bush, Cockfosters, and Mudchute are all very possible. You gotta love the register, right? Oh man, that is pretty good. And that's it for me for today. I'll be doing some work now. Well, later on. I will now look at my newly acquired magic cards. My Challenger deck, Vehicle Rush. Contains 60 card deck, 15 card sideboard, spin down life counter. And apparently I now own cards from Ether Revolt. So that is exciting. Anyway, you'll be working on magic cards, says Mike. Well, yeah. maybe in the future I can actually get a job, like a freelance job from Wizards of the Coast, and then that will be true. Actually, that would be amazing. Anyway, I hope you have a good day. I'll be back tomorrow with some more tech news. I'm guessing something should happen in the intervening time. Until then, have a nice day, and again, please excuse the break here while I take possession of my my deliveries. Anyway, have a nice day. I will see you tomorrow. Until then, goodbye.